Hi, I'm the Rap Critic. And since it's Black History Month, I wanted to look at some great music in hip-hop history and discuss why they were great to me. Or, after analyzing their lyrics, finding out they might not be as good as I thought they were. I really hope that doesn't happen. So the first song I'll be looking at is Fight the Power by Public Enemy, a song which struck at the epitome of Afrocentricity in late 80s hip-hop. And in addition, it was used in the soundtrack for the cinematic masterpiece Do the Right Thing, about a particularly hot day in Bed-Stuy where racial tensions of the melting pot have gone unchecked and give rise to chaos, leading to a neighborhood riot set in motion by the scene of a black man in New York being choked to death by a police officer who performed an illegal chokehold on a man until he couldn't breathe. Oh God, nothing's changed in America. Well, okay, some things have changed. In this fictional movie, racial tensions after a black man was illegally choke-held by police led to violent riots, while the policemen responsible got away scot-free. 20 years later, though, it's different, because now, in real life, racial tensions after a black man was illegally choke-held by police led to peaceful protests that prompted the legal system to let the policemen responsible still get off scot-free. This is kind of depressing. Alright, let's just get to the song. That's right, Chuck D and Flavor Flav letting you know what time it is. Thank you, Flavor Flav, for the illustration. But yeah, specifically, they wanted to let you know that they were all about the issues of the time, that summer, 1989. Of course, when the song was released in 1989, they said that to hit you with the fact that they're making a modern song for a modern people. But the problem with time-stamping your music is that, well, it's not going to sound current in any other year but that one. I'm just saying, it's possible that a younger generation might already disconnect with the song because you've already made it not relatable to them. Hey kid, let me show you some real hip-hop. Oh, this song's really old, so you can't relate to it as much as this person would want you to. Music hit your heart, 'cause I know you got a soul. That's right, this music hits you because you understand the truth of what they're doing as artists, which is, well, so far they actually haven't said what they're doing, but they'll get to it. Okay, you're gonna have to start getting a little bit more specific in your revolutionary lyrics, because so far these could be the words from any random dance party song in the 80s. That's a little better. Oh shit, here it comes! Okay, even though they haven't really gotten in depth yet, regardless, this production is masterful. I honestly think such a fabric of sound woven with multiple samples has never sounded this perfect until the Bomb Squad, Public Enemy's producers, put together a track like this. It's just powerful. From the 4 different blended funk songs they slowed down to the little vocal clips they throw in, everything comes together perfectly for a dope collage of music. Honestly, very few artists have managed to put together this many different samples and make them sound so cohesive. Okay, I dig what he's doing here. Which I think actually puts his more simple rhymes in the beginning in context. He didn't want to start off with something too complex because he wanted the fantastic sounds of the music to capture you first, before he could charge his rhymes with the proper social commentary that PE is known for. Now that you realize the prize arrives, we got to pump the stuff to make it drop. So here he's saying, we've pumped the music to you, and now we're going to pump the messages that are going to make our people stronger. What we need is awareness. We can't get careless. Okay, I think this might be one of the most important messages in the song. You see, we've had problems with racism, sexism, and all the things that we've been currently facing for centuries, to the point where people just didn't question it back then. That was just the way the world was for most of human history. However, in this more enlightened era, we're trying to change those deep-rooted misdirections we've been stuck in to create a more equal world. And that's why, although in this day of internet activism people are getting annoyed with it, ultimately this new direction of actively working against those centuries upon centuries of tribalistic hatred, xenophobia, and division involves always being vigilant about our blind spots of inequality. We need awareness of what's happening within our systems, because carelessness on our part to notice these inequalities very quickly devolves right back into us reinforcing the inequalities and biases that we've had in place for so long. For example, there was a thing where certain states were trying to, and in some places succeeded in, making mandatory drug tests for people applying for welfare. The argument being, we need to keep government assistance out of the hands of drug addicts, who will only abuse it for their habit. Which is funny to me, because when it came time for company bailouts, I didn't hear one peep about CEOs of banks having to undergo drug tests, to make sure that they weren't abusing their government-assisted money for drugs. That in and of itself is a deep-rooted classism issue. The belief that poorer folks are more likely abusers of drugs, while tacitly assuming the same thing couldn't possibly be a problem for big business CEOs. Those guys are upstanding members of society, all of them. Haven't you seen Wolf of Wall Street? What? Oh, that movie wasn't a proper depiction of what was going on with big business? Oh, it was even worse, you say? Well, at least all the gentlemen pushing for these mandatory drug tests for welfare recipients were all upstanding members of society. Okay, I think you're starting to see my point. Let's get back to the song. That's right, people. We must prepare ourselves mentally to train our minds to be resistant to the crap that our bias system tricks us into. And before you bring it up, no. I'm not talking about some evil mastermind world domination crap like people who think we're being indoctrinated into a militarized police state because Lady Gaga wore a catsuit in a music video. No, I mean realistic stuff, like being a young teenager who's actively aware of the fact that lowest common denominator hip-hop is being marketed to you the most because it's easier to push over-the-top stupidity than it is to promote crafted talent. Just as an example.
Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. If he's straight out racist, the sucker was simple and plain.
Now, this is one of the more controversial lines, and although I don't personally think Elvis was racist, he did benefit from black artists not being able to have as big a pedestal as him based on race, seeing that he was crowned the king of rock and roll, which one would be a fool to think wasn't a declaration that came upon him partially based on his ability to perform and be marketed in places that black faces didn't have nearly as much access to, who originated the music he made. Again though, that's not his fault. It's the fault of a country that loved black music but was afraid of the black people making it. And if you think people were being too sensitive about a white guy being the ruler of a predominantly black genre based on a wider audience, look no further than... I wasn't gonna say that. Actually, I would point you to the super popular black genre before rock and roll, jazz. Can you guess who was named the king of jazz in the 20s?
Jazz.
I bet you'll think Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, someone like that, right? Nah, it was a white guy named Paul Whiteman. That's right, White Man was the king of jazz. And even though he did work with a lot of black musicians and they had a lot of mutual respect for one another, you can see how people might have been a little peeved that after the first massively successful black genre got ruled by a white guy, the same thing was happening again not even 30 years later with Elvis. Well, at least a black man got to be the king of pop, right after he turned white. Okay, hold up, I'm not gonna stand for that. Not all white people who left their mark on history were rednecks. That implies that all white people were poor, racist jackasses, which is not true. Some of them were rich and screwed over black and white people.
Don't worry, was a number one jam. Damn if I said you could slap me right here.
Aw, I liked that song as a kid. But nah, I get exactly what they're saying. The attitude that employs the theme of not worrying about the problems of the world and just being content to find happiness within yourself doesn't work with bold activism, which is about seeing those problems in the world and making moves to change things. And in Public Enemy's eyes, making a song about placating yourself by making it all about your personal happiness only pacifies potential voices who could be fighting for a better world. So, all in all, yeah, this song deserves its accolades. It's a hell of a song and just as powerful as it was 20 years ago, with bombastic lyrics and maniacally beautiful production. Funny thing is, this song didn't do that well on the charts. Kind of puts it in perspective that it's on so many lists for the greatest rap songs or even greatest songs of all time now. But at the time, the Do the Right Thing movie played the song way more than the radio ever did. But hey, what's popular is not always what'll get remembered. So keep that in mind the next time you hear the next version of Trinidad James getting airplay. Don't worry, the good will shine through for the ages, and you'll see the Jimi Hendrixes and the Led Zeppelins get their due recognition. I'm just saying, nobody has pictures of the Archies on their college dorm room wall.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my